The 3-0 Illini basketball team have its first real challenge tonight against Alabama. The keys to victory? Let's talk about it. Locked On Illini, let's go.
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Illini. You can find us on all your favorite audio platforms, or right here on YouTube, or on your favorite social medias. That's X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We're even on Blue Sky right now. Just do a quick search for Locked On Illini. Just know I'm the one handling that account. So if you got good things to say hello. If you got bad things to say, let me know what that constructive feedback, hopefully, is as well. My name is Sunny Verma. You can find me at IlliniCast or at the Sunny V. I want to take a special moment on this Wednesday to give a shout out to my everydayers. And you know exactly who you are. You guys are the ones tuning in every single day, making my job much easier. It's a lot easier to create content for a half hour every single day, knowing that you guys are out there watching it. And I never doubted the Illini fan base and the passion that they continue to show. So I just want to take a special second and let you and acknowledge you guys, because I sincerely appreciate all of you making my life easier. Let me know where you're watching the show from. Let me know where you're watching the game from. I want to know your game score predictions tonight. Do you guys think Illinois can pull off the upset? The game opened up at -4. And I believe as of this morning, it was all the way up to -8 in the favor of Alabama. So I'm definitely looking forward to previewing the game for you. But before I do that, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So later on Wednesday evening, Illinois will be traveling to Birmingham to play technically a neutral court game against the Alabama Crimson Tide. But I mean, this is pretty much a home game for Alabama. And it's going to be a tough matchup, especially with Alabama just coming off of a loss to Purdue, who, by the way, lost on Tuesday night to Marquette. Alabama is going to be very much looking to right the ship. Under one of the best coaches in the country, Nate Oates, Alabama had very high expectations coming into the year. I believe they're ranked in the top 3 coming into the season. They've fallen, of course, after the loss to Purdue. But regardless, still a super, super talented team. A lot like Illinois in the style of play that they have. They really like to go up and down the floor and try to score baskets and really put the pressure on the defense. The difference is Alabama's got 2 fifth-year guys on their team, one of which we're very familiar with, and that's Cliff Amorier, who I'm going to get to in a little bit. And the other 5-year guy being guard Mark Spears. But today, I wanted to kind of focus on the Illinois side. Illinois is going to be, as I mentioned, an underdog in this game. The line opened up a little closer than I thought it would be. Alabama being -4 or 4.5. I think I predicted -7 on a show last week. Right now, the line has gone all the way up to -8 as of this morning. Yesterday, it was actually -8.5. So the line eventually has corrected to itself to kind of where I expected it to be originally. This is not going to be an easy matchup for Illinois. And, again, the everydayers that I mentioned earlier know that I predicted us to lose this game, along with the other marquee out-of-conference game, just because of the youth on our side of the court. Birmingham is going to be a hostile environment for these young guys. And that doesn't mean I necessarily think we're going to get blown out, but I just think it's going to be tough. Purdue doesn't have a single transfer in their basketball program right now. They're a team that has grown together, that has played together for a while. They're very comfortable with each other. And by the way, they got to play that game at Mackey. Mackey is one of the biggest cheat codes when it comes to playing in a home stadium in the entire country. And so you have to take that to account as well. But what do I want to see from the Illini side? There's 3 guys I'm focusing on for tonight in order for Illinois to have success and potentially beat Alabama. And the first 2 guys, well, stop me if you've heard this before. It's going to be obviously Kasparas Jakucionis and Kylan Boswell. I'll start with Kasparas just because he's the name that's most often brought up with this Illinois basketball program right now. Having, I believe, 10 shots in 3 games is just not going to cut it for Kasparas. This is not one of those situations where we can get by with just Will Riley or a good Ben Hummerkaus game or Tomislav Ivisic continuing the production that he does. Alabama's one of the few teams in the country that has the weapons that Illinois, and for Illinois to really have a chance to come out victorious today, we're going to need what we all perceive to be our best offensive weapon, Kasparas, to become just that, an offensive weapon. We need him to assert himself, to kind of announce to the college basketball world that, hey, here I am. This is what all the hype was about. Sure, I can hand out 6 to 8 assists a game. Sure, I can come close to a triple-double almost every time I step on the court. But what we need to see is that other opposing defenses are going to have to worry about Kasparas taking over a game on the scoring side as well. And again, I'm not talking about taking 4 shots but then 12 free throws and then ultimately finishing with 13, 14 points. That's great. And I talked about that in a previous episode as well. His ability to draw fouls on the opposition is very reminiscent of what Terrence Shannon Jr. did last year. And it is a key skill that's lacking in a lot of players and one that I really do appreciate about Kasparas. But I just need a Kasparas game where he shoots 14 times in a game and he ends up with 23, 24. I want Kasparas to be our best offensive player. Illinois has played 3 games so far. This first game, I believe they scored 112 points. Second game, they scored 90 points. In both of those games, Kasparas had a very good, efficient, relatively turnover-free basketball game, and Illinois cruised. And they looked like they could be a machine coming into this year. The third game against Oakland, Kasparas struggled. And Kasparas struggled, and also Illinois struggled. Illinois only scored 66 points. It really seems like how Kasparas goes, that's how the Illini basketball team is going to go. And if that's the case, we're going to need 100% of Kasparas on Wednesday night against Alabama. Again, he's supposed to be our best player. He can control the floor. At his size, you don't see many college basketball players that are able to do what he does. I'm not asking him to do anything I haven't seen before, which is the confusing part. I watched him do it all summer long in the FIBA under-18s and for Barcelona when I really started scouting him once I found out he was coming to Champaign. It's certainly in him. It just hasn't quite translated to the basketball court yet. Now I got 2 more guys I wanted to talk about right after this. I love a great deal as much as the next guy, but I'm not going to crawl through a bed of hot coals just to save a few bucks. It has to be easy, no hoops, no BS. So when Mint Mobile said it was easy to get wireless for $15 a month with the purchase of a 3-month plan, I called them on it. Turns out it really is that easy to get wireless for $15 a month. The longest part of the process was the time I spent on hold waiting to break up with my old provider. True story. Once I made the cross-country move, I decided to give Mint Mobile a shot. I knew they were a sponsor, gave it a shot, have 0 regrets. To get started, go to mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. There you'll see that right now, all 3-month plans are only $15 a month, including the unlimited plan. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your own phone number along with all your existing contacts. Find out how easy it is to switch to Mint Mobile and get 3 months of premium wireless service for $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. That's mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. $45 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 GB on unlimited plans. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. Friendly reminder, while I'm previewing this Alabama game, I'll also be talking about it immediately right after. Make sure you hit that notification bell right there, right on this channel. After every basketball game and after every football game, I go live immediately. I go over my keys to the game, what happened, what didn't happen, what I liked and what I didn't like. And it's a live show. So basically, I can get your guys' feedback as well. What did you guys like about the team? What was disappointing for you? So please make sure this evening I'll go live immediately after the game is over, and I would be honored if you guys were to join me. It's hard to argue right now that Tomislav Ivisic has been the best player for the Illini in the first 3 games. In the opener against Eastern Illinois, he finished with 14 points and 14 rebounds, 2 assists. In the second game against SIUE, he had 18 points and 7 rebounds. And in the last game against Oakland, he was clearly the best player on the court, scoring 20 points, 6 rebounds, and having 4 steals. Tomislav Ivisic is one of the older players on the team and obviously one of the bigger ones. He's the type of player that we didn't have last year at the 5, and because of his ability to really make the three-pointer as well as score with a soft touch close to the rim, he offers Brad the flexibility to throw out a whole bunch of different kind of lineups. And really, when you can run the offense through Tomislav, so far it's shown a lot of success. But despite the early season success, Tomislav has not gone up against a guy like Cliff Amorier yet. Now, Big Ten fans, I don't have to tell you anything about Cliff Amorier. He spent 4 years playing at Rutgers. Currently this year, he's averaging 9.8 points per game, 7.8 rebounds per game, and shooting 78% from the field. Now, Tomislav, the clear advantage that we have when he's on the court is he's almost always the biggest guy on this court, and which, helps somewhat, but the fact that Tomislav is skillful, makes him really the advantage that Illinois has. But Amorier is actually pretty much just as big as Tomislav. Amorier is 6'11" and 250. Tomislav is 7'1", 250, 260, depending on who you ask. Tomislav's not going to have the clear size advantage in this game that he has had in previous, and that he's going to have in most games moving forward. And so my eyes are going to be on Tomislav just to see how he adjusts to what a real college basketball physical type of player plays like. And Cliff is absolutely one of them. I mean, Alabama is one of them. One of the downsides of that Oakland game, which, let's be honest, was never really in doubt for Illinois, but you can see that a physical team can kind of disrupt their flow. And maybe it's because they're younger, but the physicality of Oakland bothered Illinois. And let me tell you, Alabama is a team that's just as physical, if not more, and they've got better players up and down that roster. The last time Illinois played a team this talented and this experienced, it was Ole Miss. And we all saw that exhibition matchup where Illinois, let's just be honest, was blown out. Do I put much weight into that loss? No. It's an exhibition game, and I've talked about this before. I think Brad Underwood, that game played out exactly the way Brad Underwood hoped it would. But this game, it's different, right? Now, I talked about how this is going to be a tough environment to play in. But there's 2 guys who I think I trust playing in that tough environment. And it's Ivisic and the guy I'm going to be talking about next. Ivisic has played against adults in Europe for the past couple of years. All sports in Europe are, how do I phrase this properly? A crazy environment to be a part of. I've gone to Premier League matches out there, go Newcastle. And let me tell you, it's just a different experience when you're watching the games in the stands over there. They're just constantly singing, chanting, calling out on players. Whereas here, at least it seems to be a little bit more civil when you're in the crowd. So Tomislav, again, he's been our best player all year long. Can he continue to be our best player? If Kasparas can't step up the way I'm asking him to, then Tomislav is a good backup option. Again, the guy's skillful, he can score, he can rebound, and he's a big-bodied presence. But today, I'm going to be watching him because I want to see what my expectations for Ivisic can be when Big Ten season rolls around. Again, I've talked about how I think we are going to struggle in the out-of-conference schedule. But on that same note, I said that I think we can win the Big Ten Conference. And my mind has not changed on that. Now, granted, I made those predictions thinking Kasparas was going to be a guy who scored 15 times a game and also contributed the assists and rebounds, which he's already shown to display. If Kasparas is not that guy, if Kasparas is the guy who's a little more timid to shoot the ball, and he's only going to shoot the ball 5 times a game, then I don't know if the ceiling is the Big Ten Conference championship anymore. Unless Tomislav is a walking double-double. If he's the guy who's putting in 18 and 10 every single night, then all of a sudden maybe I can still adjust my expectations for the individual players on the team and still come out with Big Ten championship hopes. But tonight's going to be a clue into that because, again, Alabama's a very good basketball team. And more importantly, Tomislav Ivisic is going to go up against a player that he's going to be seeing almost night in and night out when the Big Ten schedule hits. Speaking of players who've played in some of the toughest environments, Kylan Boswell, a guy who's been a lightning rod of conversation for this Illini men's basketball team, a guy who a lot of fans had very high expectations for and seemed to be a little bit confused because he hasn't really provided as much on the offensive side of the basketball court that fans expected. Now, I talked about this in the postgame after Oakland. My focus was on Kylan Boswell. I wanted to watch him to really see whether he was still contributing on the court. It just didn't happen to be on the basketball, on the offensive side. And certainly the result of that was I was completely okay with Kylan. Kylan is the guy who's taken on the responsibility to lead the team on the defensive side, which, quite honestly, we need. We have guys who can score the basket, but I just don't know if we have a guy on the other side of the court who can be like, hey guys, let's focus, lock down our defenders. I'll take the opposing player's best player, and I'm going to kind of set an example. Kylan has already played 2 years for the Arizona Wildcats. Arizona, arguably a blue blood, depending on who you ask. They play in these tough environments that Illinois is going to be expected to play in tonight. There's going to be moments when that Birmingham crowd goes wild, whether it's 6-0, maybe a 10-2 run that Alabama is going to go on at some point. Again, Alabama's a very good scoring team, so that's kind of an expectation for me. But what I want to see is how does the team react to that? And that's where I think Kylan's role can really shine. He is the veteran on this team who's played at this high of a level at the college basketball scene before. Can he calm the kids down? Will Riley, Kasparas, guys who have superstar potential, but again, they haven't been tested like they're going to be tested on Wednesday evening. I talked about Mark Spears, Alabama's fifth-year guard, one of the best players in the country. Kylan's probably going to get that assignment. Can he disrupt Spears enough to kind of mess with the Alabama offense a little bit? Unlike Kasparas, who I talked about first, who I would love to see a 15, 20-point game from, I don't need 15 points from Kylan Boswell. I need Kylan Boswell to be the veteran on that court. I need Kylan to be the guy who plays lockdown defense, who sets an example for the rest of the team. And, by the way, when Kasparas sets him up for a wide-open three-pointer from the corner, nail it. As we get deeper into the season, the expectations for each player are going to adjust somewhat. And again, Kylan Boswell came in with a former 5/4-star reputation, the hometown kid coming home, and he was the first marquee guy to transfer over to Illinois this offseason. So, of course, there were very high expectations for him. We wanted him to become an All-American. But ultimately, I think if Kylan can just settle into a role where he's the veteran presence on this team who can maybe get double digits, but for the most part, just be the defensive guy on this team. A guy like Trent Frazier from a couple years back, one of the all-time Illini greats. Just be that guy who can be a rock on the court. I don't want to replace Kylan in the starting lineup. I think he does so many things well. He just needs to be able to make that open jump shot whenever Kasparas is able to get him the ball. Did Kylan struggle a little bit in his previous stop with Arizona when he's off the ball with a guy like Caleb Love? Sure. But I think Kylan has matured enough now to know that if he wants to play at the professional level, he's got to adjust his game a little bit. And he's in fantastic shape. And really, it sounds like anytime you read an article about Kylan and his mindset this year, I think it's pretty obvious that Kylan understands what his role has to be on this year's team and what he needs to do in order for the Illini to reach their potential. Do you struggle to find a perfect gift during the holidays? Maybe gift giving isn't your love language. You overthink it and wind up with something disappointing or nothing at all. Are you buying for someone who has everything or just seems unpleasable? Are you tired of wasting money on useless clutter that no one really needs? We've got the perfect gift for you. Skylight Frame is the touchscreen digital photo frame your whole family will love. Upload thousands of photos with your phone and watch them appear in seconds. It's so easy to use. Setup takes less than 60 seconds. Add new photos straight from your phone from anywhere. It only takes a tap on your phone to send new photos to a frame across the country. It's the fastest, easiest way to keep loved ones in the loop. They'll feel so much more connected to you. Better than social media, it's a great private way to share photos without posting it to the world or having to print and store hard copies. Satisfaction guaranteed. We're confident that you'll love Skylight. We offer free 120-day returns. And now, as a special limited time offer for our listeners, get $20 off your purchase of Skylight Frame when you go to skylightframe.com/college. That's SKYLIGHTFRAME.com/college. Get $20 off your purchase now at skylightframe.com/college. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more. FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Let me know your keys to the game against Alabama. Let me know what players you're looking for. Do you think I'm right on focusing on Kasparas, Kylan, and Tomislav? Do you have other guys you think maybe Will Riley might have his coming out party again today against Alabama? Simple reminder, I'm going to be right here right after the game. So definitely hit that like button, subscribe button. Join me after the game. It's going to be a live show. I'd love to hear your guys' feedback. Also, let me know your final score predictions. Am I wrong? I think Illinois loses this game. I guess I haven't formally made a prediction yet. It's going to be a 95-78 loss, about a 17-point loss. Again, I'm not going to be worried if Illinois struggles and Kasparas has a good game. Or I'm not going to be worried if Kasparas struggles, but Illinois has a good game. But if Illinois struggles and Kasparas struggles, then all of a sudden my worry meter is going to go up a notch for my expectations for the rest of the season. Let's switch over to football. On Tuesday evening, the new college football rankings came out, and there were 5 Big Ten teams listed. Number 1 being Oregon, number 2 being Ohio State, number 4 being Penn State, number 5 Indiana, and number 25 Illinois. That's right, our Fighting Illini. Now, ESPN's FPI gave us only a 0.1% chance of making it to the playoff. But if I had any sort of editing skills whatsoever, this is where I would cut to the Dumb and Dumber Jim Carrey saying, "So you're telling me there's a chance?" Of course, I'm just being silly. Illinois is not going to make the CFP. Obviously, we would have to win out against Rutgers and Northwestern, but not just that. We'd have a whole lot of other things that would have to work out in our favor. That's just not going to happen. Honestly, our aspirations for making the college football playoff probably died once we lost our second game to Oregon, and definitely once we got eliminated by Minnesota. But that doesn't mean that this isn't an important moment for Illinois football and the direction that the program is going in. We did show up for 2 weeks in the college football playoff rankings 2 years ago in 2022, obviously before the bottom fell out and we struggled the rest of the season. But I wanted to take note of where the other Big Ten programs, which we're kind of battling out with in the long term when it comes to the Big Ten, and where they kind of stand. Wisconsin is currently 3-4 in the conference. They just made an offensive coordinator change, and next year, Luke Fickell is going to be fighting for his job. Speaking of Matt, Nebraska is another school that is now 2-5 in conference, risking not making a bowl game. And just like Luke Fickell, with that passion of a fan base that the Nebraska Cornhuskers have, next year, Matt Rule could be fighting for his job. We just got finished playing Michigan State. Michigan State obviously has a little bit more leeway with Jonathan Smith, and I think ultimately they will be just fine. But we beat them by 3 touchdowns. They're a team that's rebuilding, and right now, if you watch some of the feedback from other content creators, a lot of them weren't happy with the way they lost to Illinois. Michigan's another team. Of course, it's a blue blood. It's a team that ultimately we're not going to necessarily catch up to, and we're going to, end up behind more often than not. But in the short term, I don't know how long that's going to take. They may have a head coaching problem as well. We don't know if Sharon Moore is a head coach or not, which, again, I revert back to this every now and then. I showed up on a half a dozen shows during the offseason where they wanted to list the best head coaches in the Big Ten. And some people had Sharon Moore listed ahead of Brett Bielema, and it drove me crazy then. And still just thinking about it drives me crazy now. The other 2 schools like Northwestern, right? Northwestern struggling at 2-5. Purdue's 0-7. Purdue can't wait to get rid of Ryan Walters. What does all this mean? There's other teams that I haven't even mentioned yet because I'm just going along. What does all this mean? Recruiting. The types of players those programs are recruiting, maybe minus Michigan and Nebraska, they recruit at a slightly higher talent level. But everyone else I've mentioned is recruiting the same guys that Illinois is recruiting. Brett Bielema has talked about how he's never had such positive momentum when it comes to the recruiting front. Now, we haven't necessarily seen the fruits of it yet, but should we continue just to win game after game? If we end up with 9 wins, honestly, even if we end up with 8 wins this year, and we can parlay that into next year, keeping a guy like Luke Altmaier, maybe keeping a guy like Jackus for 1 more year, and then bringing in another transfer, and again, just go to bowl games. We've already gotten our 4th winning season since 2001, and Brett Bielema has been in charge of 2 of them. He knows what he's doing with Illinois. We have an opportunity right now to really establish ourselves as a mid to upper program in the Big Ten. A lot of us were upset, and me included, when we bring up 2022 and we started off that season 7-1, finished 8-5. A lot of us felt like we lost out on the potential momentum that a Big Ten championship game could have given us, that jolt in recruiting. Now, with the way things are stacked now with the loss of divisions, I don't see us going to a Big Ten championship game anytime soon. But that doesn't mean that we can't capitalize on a similar type of momentum. Again, Illinois might be going to the best bowl game in the conference that's not included in the college football playoff. We have a head coach who isn't even remotely on a hot seat. It's not even a warm seat. We know Brett's going to be in charge of our program for the next 5 years or so. It seems 1/3 of the programs in the Big Ten Conference can't say the same thing. So Illinois right now, they're offering you stability. Right now, certainly Illinois can offer any potential recruit stability. And the potential is that, look, hey, we can also offer you a winning program. I'm not saying we have to win every battle against the schools I mentioned earlier, but against schools like Purdue or Michigan State or even Wisconsin, let's win more than 50% of them moving forward, or at least in the next couple of years. Down the road, if they figure things out, who knows? But right now, there's no reason we can't win over 50% of the head-to-head battles with recruits over those teams. And sure, we're not going to win 50-50 battles against Nebraska or Michigan just because And not just because of where they stand as programs, but also NIL becomes a factor, and they're at a completely different level than Illinois. But why not steal maybe one guy every recruiting cycle? Nebraska and Michigan, they recruit 4 stars, right? And 4 stars who are going to go into their program and sit for a couple of years. Maybe here at Illinois, we can promise you that, hey, our coach is going to be here your entire career, and we are going to give you immediate playing time and develop you into an NFL player. That sounds like a winning pitch to me. And that started on Tuesday night when Illinois was ranked in the top 25. Now, I'm hoping we can stay there because, again, now you're talking about a team that could ultimately finish maybe in the top 20. And that's the sort of thing that can really turn things around for Bret Bielema and this the recruiting portion. Everything else seems to be going just fine. I do wish we can add a couple more game breakers. And let's be honest, potential transfers are going to be paying a little bit more attention to us as well, because not only will they get developed for the NFL, but maybe we can provide them a chance to go to a really, really good bowl game as well. That's going to wrap it up for this edition of Locked On Illini. Please, again, I want to hear your final score predictions in the comment section. On your way out, please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button. My goal, and I don't know if this is achievable or not, but I would love to hit 2,000 subs by New Year's. Is that possible? Please send this to whatever Illini group chat you might have. Follow me on the Discord. If you want to communicate with me daily throughout the day, follow me there. I might just do a live viewing of the game tonight. Send a message if you want in watching the game with me live this evening. But regardless, I will be here live immediately post-game, right after the game. Make sure you join me. I want to hear what you guys think. Until then, ILL. Love you guys.